Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Business Talks. I am your host, Chawanne Burns. In this episode, we are going to discuss the debacle that happened yesterday. It was literally a show, if I could say that word. It was a mess. We had Republicans interviewing. They had several witnesses on the witness stand for the impeachment inquiry, and then you had Democrats that just was going off the rail. They kept on talking about Donald Trump. What did Donald Trump have to do with Joe Biden? They were bringing up Donald Trump. They're already prosecuting Donald Trump. So what does it have to do with the actual impeachment inquiry? Don't know, but that's what they was focused on. Anyway, so we'll view a couple of videos or several videos from just little snippets from the impeachment inquiry. Then we're going to talk about the border crisis. And we got some other stuff that I want to talk about in today's episode. But let's get to our first story of the hour. First story of the hour. You guys, like I said, watching some of this actually gave me a headache. Okay. We're talking about people that are elected to represent us, to speak for the people. And CNN and other outlets, news outlets, actually did a poll to see if the public actually believes that Joe Biden had any dirty doings, business dealings with Hunter Biden. And overwhelmingly, 60% of people think Joe Biden used his influence for Hunter Biden business relationship. So I don't know what the problem is. I know what the problem is. Of course, they have to protect their president, right? So they have to protect their president. They wouldn't be doing their job if they don't protect their Democrat president that's in office right now. Okay, so let me just show you several things that happened yesterday. One in particular. Before I get to Jasmine. Now this guy is named Jared Moskowitz. He's a Democrat. But I don't understand. Now this is the impeachment inquiry for Joe Biden. But he was so fixated on Donald Trump. And I don't understand what the whole point was. I mean, he actually had cards built or made comparing Joe Biden versus Donald Trump.
Trump,
So you guys
impeachments. Oh, how many impeachments? In the United States, 50% of the impeachments. Donald Trump, the other 50. Donald Trump has half of the impeachments in American history. But you know what? He's got 100% of the indictments. 100% of all indictments. Zero for the other presidents. Listen, let me do it another way. I want to channel my inner Tim Russert. So let me go to the board, right? And I don't have Florida. But Donald Trump, impeachments. Oh, how many impeachments? We got 2 there. How many indictments? We got 4. How many for Biden? 0. Donald Trump is right. He's sick of winning. He's just winning, running away with it. And that's why we're here.
Go over 30 seconds. So we owe you 20 seconds to Mr. Moskowitz. It's your lucky day. You get 5 minutes and 20 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's your lucky day. What a day we are having here, isn't it? Right? I mean, listen, as a former director of emergency management, I know a disaster when I see one. I mean, by the way, you don't believe me? Just ask Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon, your guy, just went on and said, perhaps.
Whose guy is Steve Bannon?
Yeah, well, you know who Steve Bannon is. Perhaps Steve Bannon just went on and said perhaps the Republicans shouldn't have started with a witness. He was talking about Professor Turley, who was going to say right off the bat that there wasn't an impeachable offense. I quote, he says, perhaps we should have put him on the maybe list for one of our witnesses. So your other witness, Miss O'Connor, gave a complete recitation of the last 9 months, 8 months of these hearings. She went through some of the greatest hits that have come out, right? Everything that has been presented, both in these committees that we've been having, on TV, all of the evidence that you guys have been presenting over the last 8 months, all of that together. And what does Professor Turley say? It says everything we know at this juncture doesn't rise to the level of impeachment. Boy, that is awkward. It's like political impeachment malpractice.
And actually, they didn't say that. They said, actually, what they did say is, they do have a lot of evidence based on Donald's testimony, or not testimony, line of questioning. He was pulling up charts and saying, and if you want to view that, you could go to my last live stream. I talked about that yesterday. And Professor Turley was saying, yeah, if I would have seen this, or as I'm seeing this now, I will launch an impeachment inquiry on him. I will have a lot of questions about this. So that's literally what they said.
But look, let's go back at some of the previous comments that my colleagues have given. So the chairman, and I have a slide, the chairman goes on Hannity, right? You guys all know Sean. You appear with him on Fox News all the time, right? And Hannity asks a softball question, right? This is a total softball. Do you believe that this is now officially the Joe Biden bribery allegation, and do you believe you will be able to prove it? The chairman should have just said yes, but nope, he says hope so, because he doesn't have any evidence. Couldn't say yes, right? Next slide, please. Then we have Senator Grassley. Grassley says what we all know out loud. We aren't interested in whether or not the accusations against Vice President Biden are accurate. Chuck, we know. We know you're not interested in the truth. Next slide, please. And then Donald Trump, he's giving it all away. We know he doesn't. He likes to show his cards. He says, I think had they not done it to me, perhaps you wouldn't have it being done to them. And this is going to happen with indictments, too. So, Donald Trump, the tough guy, right? What is he saying? He's teaching the lesson we all teach our kids, right? If they do it to you, go do it back. So look, we're all appearing now in the world's worst acted TV drama, right? It's been picked up for a second season, the Real House Republicans of Oversight. Perhaps the material's so bad due to the writer's strike. How many Republicans, Freedom Caucus members, part of the Chaos Caucus, have said there's no evidence to impeach Joe Biden? And again, of course, we know it's not about the evidence. Why? Here's a list of all of the articles of impeachment that have been filed by my colleagues, some that are on this committee. When was the first article filed? It was filed in January of 21, 2 weeks after January 6th. So before we had a single hearing, before they went through this myriad of phishing, they were filing articles of impeachment. Professor Turley, you said this doesn't rise to the level of impeachment, and you said they shouldn't prejudge. Well, here's a list right here of every single member, many on this committee, prejudging. They're filing articles of impeachment. COVID, Afghanistan, Hunter Biden, and they're all one-upping each other in the Donald Trump Friend Olympics, trying to get invited to the sleepover at Mar-a-Lago. Oh, I filed articles of impeachment against Merrick Garland. No, I filed articles of impeachment against Kamala Harris. Okay? It is ridiculous. But this is what this is about. Let me show you. It's a simple board, right? So all other presidents in the United States, 50% of the impeachments. Donald Trump, the other 50. Donald Trump has half of the impeachments in American history. But you know what? He's got 100% of the indictments. 100% of all indictments. 0 for the other presidents. Listen, let me do it another way. I want to channel my inner Tim Russert. So let me go to the board, right? And I don't have Florida. But Donald Trump, impeachments. Oh, how many impeachments? We got 2 there. How many indictments? We got 4. How many for Biden? 0. Donald Trump is right. He's sick of winning. He's just winning, running away with it. And that's why we're here. We're here because of math. That's what this is about. They can't save Donald Trump. They can't take away the 2 impeachments and the 4 indictments, but they can try to put some numbers on the board for Joe Biden. But the problem is when you sling mud, you got to have mud. And they just don't have anything, Mr. Chairman. So look, we get it. We know why we're here. That's why they say the Biden family, the Bidens, James Biden, Joe Biden's dog, Commander, but not Joe Biden. Never Joe Biden. So when are you going to have the vote on impeachment, Mr. Chairman? What are you scared of? Call the vote. Come on. If you all think there's so much evidence, we're here. Call the vote on impeachment. Impeach him right now. I dare you.
Gentlemen, time's expired. Chair, no recognition.
And, you know, that's not how it works. So, I mean, whoever posted this is Simon Ateba. He said, "What did I just watch? Here is the craziest thing I saw at Joe Biden's impeachment inquiry today." It's from Democrat Jared Moskowitz. Crazy. I don't understand why Trump is living in their brain, because the impeachment inquiry is not about Trump. It's all about Joe Biden. Now this next one is really dramatic. I mean, when I say dramatization, you thought that was dramatic. And I hate to say, because it's a Black female, you know, Jasmine Crockett. She's a representative out of Texas. I believe she's over the Dallas district, if I'm not mistaken. But you could tell just by the head roll and the neck movement, she really cussing somebody out. Like she tearing somebody a new butthole. And like, I don't understand why can't you get your point across without doing all this? And we've heard this saying before. She ends her statement saying Joe Biden is guilty of just loving his son. Unconditional love of his son. I guess that's what women that's on the left says, because Anna Navarro said the same thing. Joe Biden is only guilty of loving his son. Okay. You love your son so much, you committed financial crimes, high crimes and misdemeanors. So let's listen to Jasmine.
Say it with me. He lost pending right now. But I will tell you what the president has been guilty of. He has unfortunately been guilty of loving his child unconditionally, and that is the only evidence that they have brought forward. And honestly, I hope and pray that my parents love me half as much as he loves his child.
Pocket from Texas.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Before I begin my questioning, I want to remind everyone that the information recorded in the FBI Form 1023 that my Republican colleagues keep citing is not evidence of anything. This form reflects years-old, secondhand, unverified information from a Ukrainian oligarch as relayed to the FBI by a confidential human source. These unverified secondhand allegations have been repeatedly debunked and undermined, including by the confidential human source who relayed this information to the FBI. The tip recorded in the Form 1023 was thoroughly explored by the U.S. attorney handpicked by Donald Trump, which was Attorney General William Barr, and the assessment was closed. Finally, Devin Archer, Hunter Biden's former business partner who worked with the Ukrainian oligarch in question, told this committee in a transcribed interview in July that he had no knowledge of any such payments allegedly described in this form. Repeating the same lies will not somehow turn them into truths. Kind of like the election that Trump lost. Say it with me. He lost it. Repeating the same lie that he won wasn't going to turn the election around. The loss in this chamber keep pushing lies and lunacy on behalf of a multi-time loser. So if we're going to talk about China, let's go ahead and talk about China. And let's talk about the dealings. And let me point out the fact that right now, each of you has admitted that none of you are fact witnesses. We walked in without facts. And unfortunately, because what we say isn't necessarily evidence, we have wasted the American people's time, and we are going to walk out of this chamber and we still have no facts that are leading to anything. But let me give y'all a little bit of tea while we're here. So I have a document that I will ask for unanimous consent to enter into the record. It's a fact sheet on President Trump's shady business dealings with the Chinese government.
This is what I'm talking about. We're talking about Donald Trump and Joe Biden's impeachment inquiry. What's the point? What's the point? If you're trying to say, hey, Joe Biden is not guilty, okay, well, you're saying pull evidence that will free up Joe Biden, that he wasn't complacent and he wasn't coerced, or he didn't have any influence on what Hunter Biden was doing. But you keep on pulling up Donald Trump. Donald Trump is already being prosecuted. You guys put it in a chat. Am I reaching? I always say, am I reaching out for the stars? But Donald Trump has nothing to do. He's not in office anymore. He has nothing to do with this. It's Joe Biden has everything to do with this. So if you want to prove to the American people, because we're watching, why do you keep on bringing up Donald Trump? And it's not about him. You guys are already prosecuting him. That's what's so wild to me.
What are you entering in? A record from who?
This is from the Congressional Integrity.
Congressional Integrity Project, the dark money PAC?
I object.
I object to that too.
Of course y'all gonna object, but we gonna talk about it. So it says Trump has extensive financial ties to the Chinese government. President Trump collected millions from Chinese government-owned entities while in office. I have the best tenants in the world, President Trump was well aware of the multi-million-dollar lease to Chinese interests. President Trump promised to donate foreign government profits while in office, but he donated less than a third of his proceeds from the Chinese government. President Trump maintained 3 foreign bank accounts while in office, including one in China. President Trump's business with China raised legal and ethical concerns. President Xi loves the people of China. He loves his country, and he's doing a very good job. Let me tell you something. I don't want to talk about what y'all want to act like is some big mystery, because we keep sitting here, and Professor Gerhardt, just to be clear, as my colleagues have even tried to provide evidence, which they're not the ones to provide evidence, have you ever heard them say "if" since we've been sitting here for I don't know how long?
Yes, I've been taking a tally.
Oh, okay. Can you show us? Can you tell us what the tally is?
More than 35 times, the Republican witnesses and Republican members of the committee have used the word "if."
Thank you so much for that. Because honestly, if they would continue to say "if" or Hunter and we were playing a drinking game, I would be drunk by now. Because I promise you, they have not talked about the subject of this, which would be the president. But let me tell you something that was so disturbing as I walked in.
And this is what we're saying, like just like the other guy, Markowitz or whatever his name is. You're saying the subject is the president. So why do you keep on talking about the former president? Can anybody give me a lifeline? Give me a clue. Why do they keep on talking about the former president if the subject is Joe Biden? I just don't understand that.
To this chamber today. As I prepared, I said, what is the crime? Because when you're talking about impeachment, you're talking about high crimes or misdemeanors. And I can't seem to find the crime. And honestly, no one has testified of what crime they believe the president of the United States has committed. But when we start talking about things that look like evidence, they want to act like they blind. They don't know what this is. These are our national secrets. looks like in the shitter to me. This looks like more evidence of our national secrets, say on a stage at Mar-a-Lago. When we're talking about somebody that's committed high crimes, it's at least indictments. Let's say 32 counts related to unauthorized retention of national security secrets, 7 counts related to obstructing the investigation, 3 false statements, 1 count of conspiracy to defraud the United States, falsifying business records, conspiracy to defraud the United States, 2 counts related to efforts to obstruct.
These are all accurate and true. Okay, you're talking about the charges that Donald Trump was indicted on. Okay. What does that have to do with Joe Biden? What does it have to do with him? Instead of she doing this, this whole charade of, oh, look what I found. I have the evidence of Donald Trump. This is the evidence of Donald Trump. We already know he's been handled at these different courts in Florida and New York, Atlanta, Georgia. So we already know what's going on with that. We're talking about Joe Biden. And instead of her doing this whole charade, you have witnesses that you don't necessarily agree with. Why wouldn't you question them? Why wouldn't you have a line of questioning to poke holes in their story? And she's a lawyer. She is a lawyer. Why wouldn't you do that? I don't understand. Why wouldn't that other guy do that? I don't understand that. But instead, they having this whole charade about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not in impeachment. It's Joe Biden. You're allowing this man, Trump, to live rent-free in your head. It doesn't make any sense.
Obstruct the vote certification proceedings, 1 count of conspiracy to violate civil rights, 23 counts related to forgery or false document statements, 8 counts related to soliciting, and I could go on because he's got 91 counts pending right now. But I will tell you what the president has been guilty of. He has unfortunately been guilty of loving his child unconditionally, and that is the only evidence that they have brought forward. And honestly, I hope and pray that my parents love me half as much as he loves his child. Until they find some evidence, we need to get back to the people's work, which means keeping this government open so that people don't go hungry in the streets of the United States. And I will yield.
If that wasn't the typical Black woman, the last 30 seconds was like, I hope my parents would love me just as much as he loves his child. Number one, Hunter Biden is 50-some years old. He's not a kid anymore. This is a repeated statement. This is a repeated statement. And this probably statement, you'll probably start hearing that on the news now. She repeated, I believe it was Anna Navarro. I'm going to find it for you. And then
Pending right now, but I will tell.
She repeated Anna Navarro's statement, and mark my word, you guys. It's September the 29th, 9:14 p.m. You'll hear this on CNN or MSNBC. You'll hear this statement again. The only thing Donald or Joe Biden is guilty of is loving his child. He's a grown man. He can we say Hunter Biden is a grown man? There's nothing wrong loving your kids, but they're acting like he's a baby. They acting like this grown man is not a grown man. Like he's not, he's covering up conspiracy theories. You know how your kid, like, say for instance, you have a kid, maybe 18, 19-year-old, and they did something totally wrong, and you trying to cover it up so they won't get in trouble with the law. This is not that. This is a 40, well, at the time he was like in his 40s. 40, 50-year-old man using his dad for political or monetary gain. You have no businesses. Let me just show you what they presented. This was Donald Byron's argument yesterday. They had an organization chart. Let's see if I can find it. They had he presented an org chart Friday or yesterday. No, that's not it. And in this organization chart, they asked him, one of the witnesses, okay, if you have seen this type of organization chart, what will be your response to this? And his witness was like, yeah, I would like more information because it's ridiculous. More information. Let me see, screen. This is what their organization chart looks like. Now, if you're wondering what an organization chart, this is what you would do if you have a business and you have several entities. Most of the times, usually commercial businesses or commercial real estate businesses will have this type of organization chart. This is all discombobulated. I don't know who created this. I mean, this is not even readable. You can't actually read, but they got things crossing over. But these are all the shell companies. Now, Hunter Biden does not have not one legitimate business, but you got 20 LLCs. You don't have one legitimate business, but you have 20 LLCs. You don't even have employees. But Democrats are so focused on bringing Trump's crimes that he's been indicted for, and I put quote unquote crimes that he's been indicted for, to the forefront. This is what they want to spend their time, and the American people is watching. I don't understand, why do people fall for this nonsense? And if you look at some of the response to Jasmine Crockett, now most of the people that follow Simon Ateba, they're pretty conservative. So of course you're gonna have people, bad talking her or whatever. But you do have some black women. Ghetto at its best. Our country has fallen. This is a black woman, Tracy Smith. Vince Langman said she hopes her fathers take showers with her daughters. How disgusting. People are so crazy. The internet will internet you. So, and they are calling her like a hero, or she put down the law and she owned them. All kinds of crazy stuff. So what do you say about this? And we're the American people. And her people voted for her. And the typical response, everyone will say, oh, that's just a black woman. They think women, black women in particular, you're going to get that. You're going to get this reaction out of everyone. Because she's on the forefront. They're going to put her on the news. She was on CNN. MSNBC, you know, they were all reacting to this. I mean, let me show you guys. She's a headliner. Texas Democrat roasted for claiming Biden only guilty of loving Hunter unconditionally. Democrat in impeachment hearing calls out the GOP for ignoring Trump charges. We're not. Why? Why are we focusing on Trump? We're focusing on Joe Biden. He's the sitting president. Trump is not even in office. He's not obligated to do anything besides show up to court, apparently. Texas Democrat scorns GOP for ignoring Trump's handling classified. Now, you had several people that talked about, several people spoke during this impeachment hearing. This is what you're saying. Even if I just typed in their name. Even if you just type in impeachment inquiry. You know, you see, well, you don't see nothing about her, but it's mainly about Joe Biden. But it's basically the Democrats calling it about nothing. You know, because they're refusing to even participate in an impeachment inquiry. You know, they're not even questioning the witness, or they're not even calling their own witnesses. This happened in Donald Trump's inquiry too. You had Democrats didn't even want to. Well, the one thing about Donald Trump's impeachment, they didn't even have no witnesses, which is really odd to me. I don't know if you guys remember when they launched the impeachment inquiry on Donald Trump, they didn't bring no witnesses. They tried to impeach Donald Trump without witnesses. So anyway, like I said, you have Jasmine Crockett, or yeah, her last name is Crockett. She's the hero of whatever, I guess the Democratic Party now. You know, they're in love with her. Let me show you this other history. This other interaction. And this is Major Taylor Greene. Major Taylor Greene bringing up some more evidence against Joe Biden.
Actually exploited and then claimed as deductions on his taxes through his law firm. But he never paid those taxes. Not surprisingly, the Department of Justice did not respond. After the DOJ's sweetheart Hunter Biden deal fell apart, by the way, led by the special counsel David Weiss, on September 8th, 2023, Chairman Comer and I again sent a letter to the same DOJ officials asking about victims' rights issues related to Hunter Biden's sexual exploitations. DOJ once again failed to respond. Well, yesterday I found out why they don't want to talk with us. In a new email just released, by the way, from October 2020. Could you please display the email? The Delaware U.S. Attorney's Office, DOJ, tax, FBI, and IRS described evidence they have related to Mann Act violations. By the way, the subject of the email says Mann Act. First, the title, Mann Act. Then, it's clear there are charges on the table while the Department of Justice is in hiding from meeting with me. The Department of Justice and IRS email and David Weiss's Delaware U.S. Attorney's Office, the email states there are communications with trafficker number 1 and trafficker number 2, and that Hunter Biden had escorts who traveled across state lines. These women are victims, and the Department of Justice is refusing to protect their rights. Not only that, David Weiss, the now special counsel in charge of supposedly investigating Hunter Biden, has been clearly covering up Hunter Biden's crimes since before the 2020 election, which is undoubtedly election interference. David Weiss is complicit and must be removed from the special counsel. We also have more information we subpoenaed. Let me give you an even better example based on an interview with one of Hunter Biden's victims with law enforcement. It says here that the victim, Hunter Biden's victim, stated that Biden told her that his father was the vice president and asked to Google search his name. Hunter Biden's victim stated she told Biden she was not interested in Google searching his name and just wanted to be paid. Hunter Biden's victim stated that Biden then showed her a picture of his father with President Barack Obama. Don't forget, his father was vice president then. Hunter Biden's victim stated after she was shown the aforementioned picture, who was the vice president of the United States with the president of the United States, Barack Obama, she became afraid. After Hunter Biden's victim left the location, she arrived back at her apartment and told her friend, who she was just with, Hunter Biden's victim stated that her friend told her, "You have no idea who you're dealing with." These women were terrified, terrified. He used his father, Hunter Biden used his father, the vice president of the United States, to threaten his victim, who he had just trafficked for sex. And the Department of Justice refuses to speak to me? Hunter Biden needs to be held accountable for his sexual exploitation of women. And we've shown more evidence. We've shown evidence. This is what it looks like. This is what Mann Act violations look like.
Mr. Chairman,
I reclaim my time.
I'd like to challenge the use of this exhibit under Clause 6 of Rule 17.
It is sad that my Democrat colleagues pretend to care about women's rights while allowing Hunter Biden to exploit women. This is a shame. But let's talk about—
Chairman, there's a parliamentary challenge before us.
The point of order.
Chairman, point of order.
Who's the point? And we'll stop the clock for you, Ms. Green.
Mr. Chairman, our colleague from Georgia has introduced before pornographic exhibits and displayed things that are really not suitable for children who might be watching. And
bathing suits not suitable, Mr.
It's funny how they said it's not suitable for children, but you don't want to ban pornographic books in schools. I'm just saying.
Well, I'm saying I would like the member to be instructed to not introduce any pornography today, at least without running it through the chair
bathing suit is not pornography.
Well, we can't see it from down there, so you didn't make it available to the minority before you started.
I've seen it before. It's on the internet. It's everywhere.
You are submitting a naked woman's body.
This is a bathing suit. This is a bathing suit.
And it has not been clear before this committee.
Glasses on. Do you wear them or not?
I have contacts in. Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right. Chair, ask Ms. Green to proceed.
Now let's talk about more evidence the Democrats have denied that's turned out to be true. We all know Joe Biden is the big guy. And we confirmed that Hunter Biden was lobbying his father. Here's another example that was just released yesterday. This is from a timeline from one of the IRS whistleblowers and quotes an email between Vuk Jeremic, a Serbian politician, and Hunter Biden. Did you have a chance to talk with the big man? He's receiving my prime minister on Wednesday. Please let me know if you think that what we discussed back in DC can be mentioned in the meeting. My domestic strategy, how I proceed in dealing with my government, very much depends on whether it happens or not. This is a conversation between Hunter Biden and Vuk Jeremic. This is called influence peddling. This is how Hunter Biden was selling his father's political power and influence. And this is a perfect example. This is evidence right here. I'd like to remind everyone that this is the beginning of the impeachment inquiry, where we're casting a wide net and finding every single person, whether it's last administration, the administration before that, and whether it's the current administration, that has covered up the crime of the Biden family. And we will continue pulling more evidence
54 seconds
forward.
over, Mr. Chairman.
And I'll let Mr. Goldman go over 30 seconds. So we owe you 20 seconds to Mr. Moskowitz. It's your lucky day.
Well, and you see, so she brought another piece of evidence, okay? There's one more video I want to share with you in regards to yesterday impeachment inquiry. And this is short, but they're going back and forth. They're going back and forth, Nancy Mace and AOC. They're going back and forth because they wanted to point out, Nancy Mace is trying to point out what Rashida Tlaib said. She made a statement. So, about Donald Trump. And this is what she said.
Mr. Chairman, I request unanimous.
Chair recognizes Ms. Mace.
Mr. Chairman, I request unanimous consent to enter an article into the record dated January 6, 2019. A member of this own committee, the day after she was sworn in, came into Congress, and this article says, Dem split in response to her words, impeach the mother effer, the day after she was sworn in. Some might even say these kinds of comments, not only are they hypocritical by the left in their arguments today, but that this is an embarrassment to the time and people of this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. Chairman, I'm afraid my friend, the gentlelady from South Carolina, just engaged in personalities against a fellow member of the committee.
Well, what she entered in the record was, I believe it was Ms. Tlaib's.
Well, it was the commentary that accompanied it that I'm referring to.
It was an article from January 6,
what she
2018. Dem split in response to impeach the mother effer comment by a member of this committee.
Right, it was the commentary, and in any event, it doesn't make any difference.
No, she said it. She actually said it.
No, but Rule 17
She said impeach the mother
The
effer.
commentary of what she is presenting.
The article title is
the
Dem split
gentlelady's
in response
commentary.
to
All right,
impeach the mother
let's
effer
get on with it. I mean,
That's
you know,
the
the
title of
government's
the
about to
article,
shut
Mr.
down,
Chairman.
okay?
Chair, order. Chair now recognize Mr. Latour.
When you have
So, you know, that's happened throughout yesterday. Okay, they're going back and forth, submitting evidence, some evidence that had nothing to do with what they were talking about. We'll see on Monday if they continue the hearing on Monday, if they avoid a shutdown, because they have up until 12 midnight, 12:01 Sunday, to decide whether or not they're going to extend or raise the budget, raise the debt ceiling, or approve, I guess, a budget. Speaking of government shutdown, I'm going to take you to Joe Biden. This is what Joe Biden's response, I guess he was trying to respond to the impeachment inquiry, but Okay, before we get to Joe Biden, his Secretary of Defense stepped down. What's the guy's name? General. I forget what the guy's name is. Not the Secretary of Defense, but it was the. I think his name is General Milley. I think that's his name. Okay, so let me just share this story. Milley says the military doesn't swear an oath to a wannabe dictator in a parent swipe at Trump. I don't know if that's a parent swipe at Trump. In his retirement speech. Let's see if this plays.
We are unique among the world's armies. We are unique among the world's militaries. We don't take an oath to a country. We don't take an oath to a tribe. We don't take an oath to a religion. We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
So that's.
Can I just show you something else that I don't know if a lot of people know about her?
This is what I don't know why he said that, but Joe Biden's in office. So, like I said, they are so much. There's a lot of people fixated on Donald Trump. I don't understand why, but I guess because he's running for office again. So they're saying that it was a bitter and point swipe appeared unmistakably targeted at the former President Donald Trump, who has in recent days accused Milley of treason and suggested that he should be put to death for his conduct surrounding Trump's bid in 2021 to remain in office despite losing the presidential election. And Donald Trump, he accused him of treason because of his relationship with the Chinese government. That's where that came from. But Milley, he's stepping down. He's retiring. And you think, why would you be retiring before Joe Biden's term is over? To me, if you're taking an oath, why wouldn't you take an oath, to serve your country? And Joe Biden's your guy, right? I guess. But if it's your time to retire, it's your time to retire. But I think it's kind of odd timing for him to be retiring. Okay, so Trump put on his Truth Social post, this is an act that is so egregious that in times gone by, the punishment we have been death. Trump wrote on social media on a Truth Social last week, a war between China and United States could have been the result of a treasonous act. And they were saying that Trump even doubled down that he was calling him stupid and very dangerous. Okay, so that's what happened. So, and then Joe Biden got on stage basically calling American citizens that believe in Donald Trump or support Donald Trump MAGA extremists. I mean, you got half of the country that voted for Donald Trump, and you're calling them extremists. And it's like, everybody's not extremists. This is just people that actually agree with Donald Trump over you. So just because they don't agree with you, you want to label them extremists. That's just a little bit on the odd side. And that's divisive. You know, if you're trying to bring the country together, okay, we may not agree, but what we do have in common is this, this, and this. That's what, as a president, you think you would do that.
Just to watch one MAGA, end of quote. This is the United States of America. This is the United States of America. And although I don't believe even a majority of Republicans think that, the silence is deafening. The silence is deafening. Hardly any Republican called out such heinous statements. Just as they watch one MAGA senator outrageously said blocking the promotions of hundreds of top military leaders and affecting not only those leaders but their families, their children. MAGA extremists claim support of our troops, but they're harming military readiness, leadership, troop morale, freezing pay, freezing military families in limbo. Just as they looked the other way when the defeated former president refused to pay respects at an American cemetery near Paris, referring to the American servicemen buried there, and I've been to the cemetery, as suckers and losers. Quotes. I'm not making this up. I know we all tried not to remember it, but that's what he said. He called servicemen suckers and losers. Was John a sucker? Was my son Bo, who lived next to a burn pit for a year, came home and died? Was he a sucker for volunteering to serve his country? The same guy who denigrates the heroism of John McCain. It's not only wrong, it's un-American. But it never changes. The MAGA extremists across the country have made it clear where they stand. So the challenge for the rest of America, for the majority of Americans, to make clear where we stand. Do we still believe in the Constitution? Do we believe in the basic decency and respect? The whole country should honestly ask itself, and I mean it sincerely, what it wants. And yet here.
So that's was Joe Biden's response to Donald Trump and MAGA extremists. He's saying that, hey, we need to take a stand. Where, Trump made comments about, servicemen, calling them suckers and losers. I'm not for sure what he's referring to, but I guess that happens when he was in office. But what I will say, who's the sucker and loser? Anybody that voted for Joe Biden. We all are suckers and losers if you voted for Joe Biden. because you can't say you care about the American people. You can't even say that you care about military men because you mandated the vaccine for all federal employees. And just because they didn't want to take the vaccine, they couldn't re-enlist. So what are we saying here? And we have an open border policy. Actually, we don't have any borders. Let's put it like that. We don't have any borders. So who's the sucker and the loser? Apparently, American citizens are. We're the suckers because you don't protect us. You don't protect our borders. And we're starting to feel the pain of an open border policy. Let me get to some of your comments. Hey, amazing tribe. Thanks for joining us. Robert Jordan says, Texas has been overwhelmed with immigrants since Biden took office, and she's defending Biden, another Democrat caring more for the party instead of America. Jared needs to turn the flame down. Yeah, he was everywhere. Democrats are going to do anything and everything they can to turn this impeachment hearing into a shit show. They are. And AOC has shown her true liquid white out character, not doing nothing for a betterment of Black people, financially affordable housing apartments, custom homes, including the land. Allison Craig, General Milley. Yeah, General Milley. That's who I was talking about. Lloyd Austin is the Secretary of State. No, Austin didn't step down. General Milley retired. Allison said, good, glad he is. I don't like Milley. Amazing tribe. Ukraine needs to be forced effective immediately to return those billions of dollars to African descendants of slaves. Yeah, this ticks me off. Everything they say is furthest from the truth with me. You know what? On the border, you know, Elon Musk visited the border. I think he was there yesterday. And of course, AOC, I think AOC likes him. She was mad about it. But he actually had to go down there, and I guess he wanted to actually see what was going on. So he talked to some of the Border Patrol people, some of the guys that actually work at the border, and they said it's pretty bad. You know, they get about 2,500 people a day at the border, and the government, they're not doing nothing about it. It's just like they're on their own, basically. So,
and Randy's behind us now. You want to come over here, Randy? And just the question I have is what's happening in your county? This is 100 miles away.
And just imagine, like you're just talking to America here, and people just want to understand exactly what's going on, but assume that people do not know what's going on.
Well, you got to go back some time, and whenever the open border policies from the White House kind of got thrown out there, we've been overrun.
How long was that? How long ago was that?
Cool. What year was that?
2 years ago.
2 years
We're on our third year.
We've been battling it for 2 years, and
okay.
So
you're saying there's been an open border policy essentially for the past 2 years?
It was an invitation.
An invitation.
That's how I read it. That's how it was told from the White House. So
okay.
They don't have a clue what's going on here, I don't think, because if they did, maybe they would care. Maybe they wouldn't. I don't know.
How does the train impact you? Because the trains have been a big story lately. There's a train just over here. This is kind of where it starts.
Before he starts talking about the train, but did you guys hear what he just said? He said it came down from the White House. There's an invitation saying, "Hey, come here, come all to this place, this wonderful place called America." It came down from the White House. He's the sheriff in this town. He patrols the border. That's what they're facing. And I guess they're not really supposed to do nothing about it. I guess they're supposed to assist them. And we saw videos, several videos, where the Border Patrol is actually there, people crossing illegally, and they like, oh, hold on for a second. Let me get that barbed wire out the way because it's inhumane. Come on, and let me assist you. They can't do anything about it. They're supposed to assist them in crossing the border illegally so they won't get hurt. It's a humanitarian effort.
Okay. Where you see,
peep this about the trains, though.
You know, all these thousands of people on a train. This is where they're coming through, but it doesn't end here. It just starts here.
Yeah.
Medina County is where they're going to make it to the big cities like San Antonio.
Two major rail lines come through my county, and on those the illegals ride. They actually control the trains because they know how to crank down the brake on the car so that when it passes a heat sensor, the conductor has to stop the train, the illegals get off, the people come to get them, and all the stolen vehicles they're stealing from all over the country. Nearly every one of them's in a stolen vehicle.
Okay.
So then we get involved, and then they're trespassing on private property.
Okay.
And when you do get behind the wheel, they run through fences, they run over equipment.
My bad.
Pass and because you know, sometimes people think, well, fuel is coming from Mexico, but this is not the case.
Not the case at all.
The reality is that this is an open border for all of Earth.
All of Earth.
And just, you know, so there's roughly 350 million people in the U.S., but there's 8 billion people on Earth.
Yes.
This is an open border to 8 billion people.
Yes.
Exactly. And so, in fact, I believe it's a small minority, or it's a minority. It's a small percentage that are actually coming from Mexico.
Yeah.
That are Mexican.
That's true.
Yes.
Okay.
Sheriff Zertuche, how many, I mean, this is how close are you to the border? 60 miles?
68 miles from the border.
68 miles from the border.
That's right.
What type of nationalities are coming through your county?
We're seeing anywhere from Honduras, El Salvador, I believe Ecuador, and stuff like that, even some Cubans.
It's pretty much every country,
well.
right?
Pretty much every country.
Yeah.
It's very rare that we see anybody just from Mexico. So,
oh, it's actually rare to see anyone from Mexico.
And I'm 68 miles from the border. I'm 80 miles south of here from Eagle Pass.
How big is your workforce? How big is the sheriff's office?
My patrol staff's only 16 strong.
16 total.
Okay.
So how many do you have on call at one time?
Maybe 2 at the most.
Two law enforcement officers to tackle. I mean, some of these counties that I represent, they're size of states. And they've got 2 or 3 people trying to tackle it all. This is where the local community just feel completely overwhelmed. Because Border Patrol agents used to be the front line, and now they're here. They're under the bridge, they're processing folks, so they're completely out of the game. So these law enforcement, the local law enforcement officers are carrying all the weight.
My county alone is 1,500 square miles. And,
right, so that's not possible, really.
It's very difficult to handle.
Yeah, okay. And so, and just it's worth going over a bunch of things that you mentioned to me, which is like there's almost no repatriation.
Right.
This is another thing that I found surprising. Basically, once somebody gets in, they're in.
Yes.
There's essentially no. There's in theory repatriation, in theory flying back.
Yes.
And I believe you talked to the president of Guatemala and asked him if, would they take people back, and he said, of course.
Yes, I said I'll take every single one of them.
Yeah, no problem.
No problem. All you got to do is ask us.
Yeah.
Ask, just call.
The White House just needs to call.
Exactly.
Okay.
And every White
seems like that's not a difficult thing.
Elon, every White House has done that.
Okay.
Whether it was Trump, whether it was Obama, whether it was Clinton, whether it was Bush, every single White House has had a border issue, and every single one has had to handle it the same way.
Okay.
By essentially going, we can't let everybody in because it's going to overwhelm us. You're gonna abide by the laws, and if you don't qualify for asylum, we're going to send you back. And as soon as you start doing that, it alleviates the stress. This administration hasn't done that yet.
Okay, so and just so of the sort of
The administration has not done it yet because they want an open border policy. They want everybody to come in and say, hey, remember, Joe Biden put you in there. Here's your voter registration card. You're able to vote. That's what they're doing. Oh, you need a job? Here's your work permit. You can get a job. The UAW is on strike. I suggest you to go to Michigan or some of these plants out here. You know, we got some plants scattered across the U.S. You're an able-bodied working man. You take one of them jobs. Yeah, that's basically what they're doing. Take one of their jobs. They probably pay you $15 an hour, $15 an hour. Non-union position. And you're able to work. That's what they're doing. That's why Joe Biden and his administration has not said, oh, contact us before you start sending people over here. Because if you do, we're going to send them back. That's exactly why this is happening.
roughly 2.5 million processed illegals, and then it's maybe as much as twice double that or something. I don't know. So,
got a ways. Yeah.
Call it like 4-ish million, maybe 5 million total processed and unprocessed. How many of the 4 or 5 million legal immigrants are sent back to their countries every year?
I'll give you an example. Here in Del Rio sector is one of 9 sectors. Okay, we're getting about 2,500 people coming over illegally a day, and we are repatriating or sending 0 back. Zero.
So
Not,
zero is quite a small number.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's just literally 0. So basically, there's no repatriation.
What is happening is
this is insane.
What is happening is, at best, they will send people to other parts of the border. That's not back to where the country of origin. That's to Laredo or El Paso.
Okay.
In worst case scenario, and I want to bring in the mayor here, the worst case scenario is where they're at. You bubble to a point where there's nowhere else to send them. So what you end up doing is you release them into the street. Imagine what that does to your local community. This is the mayor of Eagle Pass.
Welcome to Eagle Pass. Rolando Salinas, mayor of the city of Eagle Pass. And it's been a rough...
Oh, nice town.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Just FYI, in case people are wondering whether Eagle Pass is like a rundown town. It's actually really clean and nice, just FYI.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You know, we're a city of 28,000 people, and we've had 19,000...
Sorry, maybe toward the camera, I suppose.
Eagle Pass is a city of 28,000 people. We've had over 19,000 people in the last about 10 days come in, so we don't have the resources.
It's like, wait, more people are coming in by far, than it's exceeding the population of the town on a regular basis.
They're exceeding the population of the town. They could literally take over the town. I have you guys seen the videos in Italy where some of these guys from Africa and other parts of the world are coming to Italy and fighting the police? This small town in Italy is about 6,000 people there. And literally they have more people, more immigrants than they actually have residents. How can any city sustain that? And you don't see zero help from the federal government. They just, oh, that's a town, they got room to grow, I guess. Send them to that place. Let them take over that town.
Basically.
Absolutely. We don't have the resources to control.
When you talk about the hospital,
absolutely.
I think that's a piece that a lot of people are missing.
Eagle Pass has 1 hospital. So you have thousands of people visiting this hospital. People are getting frustrated. The safety's taking a toll. People can't get medical care, our local constituents, because they're treating people that are coming in from other countries. It's just,
there's only so many doctors.
There's only so many doctors, only so much we could do. The thing is, they're coming in without consequence, and the word gets out back to the countries, hey, come to the U.S., come through Eagle Pass, come one, come all kind of situation. And it's disappointing that we don't have a reform where we can solve this issue.
The other thing about this too, Elon, is it should not be a partisan issue. I get it. The politics in it are lucrative.
Exactly. There's certainly a temptation to make it a partisan issue.
100%.
Yeah.
But, this is across the board. I don't care if you're a D or an R, if you vote, don't vote, urban America, rural America, everybody's impacted the same way. When the crisis hits your town, it's like a hurricane. When a hurricane hits you, everybody gets washed out.
Sure.
And it's no different. So I think there's an opportunity here if we can message it in a manner of, this is about solutions. Hey, I get the finger pointing. It's easy to say why we got here. It's like, how do we just get out of here? And I think there are some real tangible solutions we can get.
Okay, so I guess like the first part of this video, and I'll take a minute to upload it once this time, is just to frame the problem so that the American people understand the magnitude of the problem, how quickly it is growing, and that there is basically no solution currently being implemented.
Yes.
Okay, and just to understand, like when, you're telling me like sometimes people coming through are they have gang tattoos and they have the tear tattoo on the forehead. Like, I'm not sure. Maybe that everyone knows what tattooing a tear on your head on your face means.
I visited. That's good. It's not good.
It's not good.
I visited. Just nonstop. I visited the facility here in Eagle Pass on Monday, and there was a guy that had face and neck tattoos, hand tattoos, and he had teardrops. And
a teardrop is when you kill somebody.
When you kill somebody, and then you wear it as a
badge of pride. You're like actually happy that you've killed someone,
right?
And you want people to know it,
right?
And when someone like that comes through and they say they're an asylum seeker, what do we do?
So I'm in there, and I asked the Border Patrol chief.
We're talking about basically a serial murderer.
Because he has multiple
serial murderer and proud of it.
Yes. This is not somebody you want babysitting.
No, subtle.
No, not at all.
Okay.
And so when I asked the Border Patrol chief, I go, hey, what's up with this guy?
Yeah.
And he asked him in Spanish. He goes, hey, have you ever been arrested before? He goes, oh, of course not. And he's like, no, I've never been arrested. And so what the Border Patrol chief said, he goes, we do not have records from people from Venezuela.
Sure.
So we can't track, unless they were arrested in the United States, we really don't know who some of these actors are. Many people you'll see are fleeing poverty. I get that.
Sure.
But there are others that are fleeing, incarceration.
Yes. we are basically, it seems like the place where you can go to get away from the law.
Yes.
So, okay, well, I think with that, and I see this sort of just a kind of a group over there that's coming in. So, it's so this sort of I don't know if you could really see it. I'll try to switch it around. Well, I can't really switch around. So anyway, that's like, I don't know if you can sort of see that group, but that's a group there. Yeah, so here we are at Eagle Pass.
So, you see there's another group of immigrants coming in. The border is a real problem, that we have in America. There was an interview with, I believe her name is Ayanna Pressley. She's another rep. Let me see if I could find that. Yeah, Ayanna Pressley. She insists our border is secure. She insists that our borders are secure. Don't know where she's getting this information from, but she's on CNN with Jake Tapper.
Investment to support those migrant families. No doubt about it, our border is secure. And we're in the midst of a humanitarian crisis, and we have to fix a broken system.
Wait,
and we also
you think it is secure? You think the border is secure, or it is not secure?
I believe that we are in the midst of a humanitarian crisis, and there needs to be federal investment to support those migrant families. And I work with a number of those community-based organizations on the ground, and they need more support. They need more federal support. This is a humanitarian crisis, and it's the consequence of a number of longstanding broken policies.
But we already discussed that, or the guy, the representative that was showing Elon Musk around. We've already know, or he's already stressed, yet no president ever had just allowed people to come over without any repercussions. Hey, if you're not seeking asylum, we're sending you back. You need to communicate with us. No president ever have done this besides Joe Biden. And she's saying that our border is secure. She's saying that it's a humanitarian crisis. But I'm saying it's an engineered humanitarian crisis.
That are very consequential for asylum seekers, TPS holders, and DACA recipients writ large. But that is a conversation for another day.
Sure, I don't disagree with this being a humanitarian crisis at all. But just to get some clarity on this, and sure, that's a conversation for another day. But do you think that the border is secure? Is that what you said?
Yes, the border is secure. And we're in the midst of a humanitarian crisis that has been created by a broken system. And in the meantime, we need federal investment.
This is why he keeps on asking her. You're saying the border is secure? Like, where are you getting this from? Have you even been down to the border? You're just saying this, and where is this money's coming from? You need the budget. You need money for these people. Where is it coming from? It's coming from your pocket, the American people's pocket, because we all need to chip in. And I don't understand why we always have these women saying, oh, we need to help. I guess Mother Teresa's. We need to help all these people. It's a humanitarian crisis. And until you get robbed by one of them, robbed by one of those immigrants that's not even supposed to be here. I'm not saying all immigrants are like that. I'm just saying the people that's like escaping their government or their legal system to come over here.
To support my constituents and those who call the MA7th home writ large, which is why we need to prevent a government shutdown. I want to center the humanity, the dignity, the safety, and the needs of everyone, which is why we should not have a government shutdown. It will be deeply consequential. It will create a dire situation for families, many that are already struggling.
But if you have millions of undocumented migrants coming into the country, how is the border secure?
Jake,
Jake, good question. Well, how are you going to answer that, Ayanna Pressley?
This is not a new crisis. It does require more political will and commitment. It is a humanitarian crisis.
This is not a humanitarian crisis. This is lunacy.
We should treat it as such. And again, representing one of the most diverse constituencies in the country. And in fact, I chair the House Haiti Caucus. I represent the third largest Haitian diaspora in the country. And what I see on the ground is community-based organizations and municipalities who need federal support.
I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying except for the idea that the border is secure. I mean, if you have people crossing the border, it's just by definition not secure. If you have people coming to the United States, in fact, I mean, one of the arguments being made, and I think it's an argument worth considering, is that because our border is so porous, millions of people make this very unsafe journey. Millions of people give money to people who prey on them, coyotes, and take them on these journeys to cross into the United States, preying on them, vulnerable people. And that's because the border is not secure. Because it is not secure, they go on this journey. And one of the arguments that is made, and maybe you disagree with it, is that the border should be secure so as to discourage people from making this journey. So that if people want to try to come to the United States and declare asylum and seek asylum, they go through the proper corridors and not just try to cross illegally. But it just seems like just such a refusal to acknowledge reality, just to say that the border is secure.
You're talking to a woman, Jake. I'm not going to say black woman. You're talking to a woman. Some women don't acknowledge reality. They got this. She's on this humanitarian effort campaign. And these people are coming from war torn countries. They need help. That's why she has this look on her face. That smirk. You're going to tell me what I'm saying is not true. This is so ridiculous. And this is on CNN. This is on CNN. How dare you question me, Jake? I thought this was going to be an easy interview. He's like, what ganja have you been smoking? And he's saying it 3-4 times. So are you saying the border is secure? Not, run it back for me. You're actually saying the border is secure. She's like, this is a humanitarian crisis. Like, come on, lady.
Reality, just to say that the border is secure when we all know millions of people are crossing the border. A refusal to acknowledge reality, just to say that the border is secure when we all know millions of people are crossing the border illegally every year.
Her face is like priceless. He said you a refusal to acknowledge reality. She looking like you mother effer.
Jake, and that is a consequence of a number of things. We have climate refugees, people that have been disabled in regions that are destabilized by extreme weather events.
Sure.
We have people that are violence and corruption.
There's that whole argument again. Climate weather events. That's why people are migrating. Remember, I said that, you guys, I think it was last Friday. Weather, climate is changing. I guess in Venezuela, maybe. I'm not for sure. In South America, climate is changing, so they're coming over here. Crazy, crazy argument. Okay, why wouldn't they go in somewhere else? Why they coming to the U.S. though? To me, that's really asinine.
Yep. And so we just have to acknowledge why someone would leave their native country and their family and risk so much. It is
100%.
Because they are impaired. And asylum is a human right.
They're risking their life because there's an open invitation to United States of America. We're giving them a stipend, free health care, job training. They're seeking the American dream. And we're not checking nobody. It's an open border policy. That's why they're taking the risk. These are not some women and children. We could say some women and children are crossing over. But no, we see an influx of men crossing over. Not families. We don't see families like mother, father, and child. We see men crossing over. That's running from the law. they running from the law in their country. And some younger guys, and then I'm not saying no not to come over here. Guys shouldn't come over here. I'm just saying, like you're saying this, whatever you're saying, like global warming, and we got to figure out why they're coming here. This is the reason why. We're not saying you can't come over here. And we're not saying to their government, hey, we're going to ship them back. That's why they're taking the risk. Because they know there's no consequences for crossing our border illegally.
And so we must do better and more by TPS holders, by DACA recipients and asylum seekers. And we must do more and better by those who already call this country home, who stand to really struggle if there is a Republican government shutdown that could have been avoided if the Republicans knew how to govern. But instead, they...
You can't just put that on the Republicans. It has to go on the whole Congress, okay? We all know there's a border crisis. It's been a border crisis since DACA expired. Congress have not put forth a bill to allow, or not only that, there are things that the government could do now to enforce the border, but they're refusing to do so. It's not just Republicans. It's everybody that's sitting in the House. We knew the government shutdown was coming up. Every year we go through this budgetarial thing. Oh, we're looming a shutdown. Then at the last minute, you pass some crazy budget. So it's not just Republicans. It's Democrats and Republicans alike.
They lead from a place of contempt, callousness, and cluelessness, and they continue to play to the most extreme parts of their base, political gamesmanship, playing with people's lives. And I'm not here for it. And that is also why, given how many people are struggling, I'm calling on the to not resume student loan payments October 1st if we are in a government shutdown.
Okay. It sounds like in there you acknowledged that there are millions of people crossing the border illegally, which would mean that the border is not secure. But I mean, I don't disagree with any of the points you made.
He honing in on that border. He's like, okay, it sounds like you just acknowledged that we have a problem with the border. You said all this, and are you acknowledging that we have a problem with the border? this interview was hilarious. This was hilarious.
About these people are trying to seek better lives and they're escaping all sorts of horrible things. But would you grant me the point that the border is not secure?
Jake, that is a conversation for another day. No doubt.
Why can't she admit that the border is not secure? Oh, that was so hilarious. Oh boy, man, she could not admit that the border was secure. That's to me, that's just really hilarious. Joe Schmo says she keep on repeating a lie. Yeah, this woman was crazy. But I can't. I think this was hilarious. Oh boy. Anyway, So yes, so she couldn't admit that the border isn't secure, and she wants to blame the Republicans on the government being shut down. It's actually both Democrats and Republicans. You guys can't agree on anything. Um, Republicans do now. Speaking of borders, or not borders, but budget spending. Now, there was a CR bill, I guess they was trying to pass to extend the budget to October the 31st until they could like mutually agree on things. And in this CR budget, Matt Gaetz was claiming that it had money for Ukraine in it. I don't know if it had money for Ukraine or not in it. Donalds wrote the bill, and he claims no, it was no aid for Ukraine. However, they still funded Ukraine. The House just approves Ukraine aid. Now, we have government shutdown, but they're taking stuff out of, putting these bills, separating these bills or budgets to release funding to, I guess, different things. And one of them is Ukraine aid. And overwhelmingly support for Ukraine. Actually, it's 300. They voted on it last night. 311 voted yes, 117 no's. Vote came after House GOP leaders on Wednesday stripped the Ukraine assistance from the Pentagon funding bill. And they're saying all no's came from the Republicans. But we have some Republicans voting yes to send Ukraine $300 million. To me, this is fiscally unresponsible. We are already, $33 trillion in debt? And we keep on funding this war that nobody knows nothing about? A losing war? The $300 million was initially included in the legislation funding the Department of Defense for fiscal 2024, which drew opposition from hardline Republicans. Steve McCarthy told reporters last week that he would remove the $300 million from the defense bill and hold a separate vote on the funding after Marjorie Taylor Greene joined the band of conservatives in seeking a procedural vote to advance the Pentagon measure. But the speaker backtracked one day later, announcing that he would not separate the Ukraine aid from the defense bill after realizing the appropriation measure to fund the State Department also included assistance for Kiev. He said it would be too difficult to remove the Ukraine aid from the State Department legislation and will ultimately leave both as they were. The amendment sponsored by Representative Biggs that would strip the $300 million from the legislation was voted down, with all supporting coming from Republicans. House Republicans also soundly rejected the amendment from Matt Gaetz to prohibit security assistance for Ukraine. But late Wednesday night, amid uncertainty over whether the legislation had enough support to pass, the House Rules Committee convened last-minute hearing to strip the $300 billion from the Pentagon and hold a separate vote on funding. Support for Ukraine in its battle against Russia has become a hot-button issue in the House of Republican Conference, with some lawmakers where am I at? Some lawmakers pushing the curtail assistance for Kiev, and others saying the U.S. must support its embattled ally. He's not an ally. I mean, they're not part of NATO. Why are we calling them our ally? I just don't understand that. And we know, now that we know, the guy that was in front of, what's the guy's name? Trudeau. They were honoring him in front of the parliament. The older guy. He's like 90 something years old, probably older than that. They were honoring him. He was from Ukraine and he was a Nazi. He was a Nazi. And then they tried to deflect from the situation that people called him out, that you guys are honoring the Nazi. I wouldn't be surprised that they don't have more Nazi affiliated people in Ukraine. Because that's probably where they escaped to. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited the capital and met with the lawmakers last week to beg for money, basically. McCarthy told reporter Zelensky asked to address the joint session, but he declined because we just didn't have the time. But they still gave him money. They still gave this man money. And you know who approved it? Everybody. So all these people that's been lying to us, saying, "Oh, we support Ukraine. We don't do this. You don't do that." You have Nikki Haley voting for yes for it. You have probably Tim Scott. All these people voted yes for this, or Tim Scott is a senator, so it didn't come across her table. But Nikki Haley, she supports it. But you have all these Republicans saying, "Oh, we don't support Ukraine, blah blah blah," but you're voting to send more money over to them. And what are you telling the American people? You don't care about them because you refuse to fix the border, and you're spending money on people that illegal people here, and you're sending our money out to somewhere that we don't support. And then you got fools like Ayanna Pressley on the internet, on CNN, saying we need to send more funding, or we need